The shuttle shuddered as it pierced the atmosphere of Zharon V, a world no human had set foot on in over a century. The viewports rattled, and outside, jagged mountains clawed at skies tinged with purple storms. Lieutenant Kael gritted his teeth scanning the console. Atmosphere's corrosive. Shields at 40%, he muttered, eyes flicking to the 3 alien cadets strapped into the cabin. They stared, each with a mixture of fear, curiosity, and disdain. The Jivara, 6-limbed and shimmering like mercury, clicked their mandibles nervously. The Bregg, squat and scaled, hissed softly. The human Kael simply nodded, his jaw tight, radiating calm that felt like an anchor in the storm. "You call this a training mission?" The Bregg's voice rasped through the translator. "This world wants to kill us. You want us to survive?" Kael's eyes met theirs. "Exactly. If you survive here, you survive anywhere." The shuttle slammed into the rough terrain. Metal screamed against rock and alarms blared, but Kael's hands were steady, guiding them to a halt. The Jivara screeched, gripping straps with dexterous limbs. The Bregg's eyes darted nervously. Kael simply exhaled and opened the hatch. A gust of acidic wind hit them, smelling faintly of burnt copper. Kael stepped out first, boots crunching on the jagged, blackened surface. "Welcome to Deathworlder training," he said, voice rising against the roar of the storm. "This world doesn't forgive mistakes, and neither do I." The alien cadets stared. For them, survival had been theoretical, simulated in gravity fields, vacuum chambers, and hollow tanks. But now raw reality clawed at their senses. The storm howled like a living beast, each strike of lightning illuminating twisted alien plants that seemed to watch them. "Focus," Kael said, voice calm but firm. "Your mind is your only weapon here." The Jivara tilted their head, shimmering more brightly. "Focus? How? We are not you." Kael's lips tightened. "You'll learn, or you die trying." He scanned the landscape. Movement flickered at the edge of his vision, subtle, almost invisible. Shadows danced between jagged rocks faster than any creature should move. The Bregg hissed, claws scraping the metal of the shuttle. "Are they alive?" Kael crouched, fingers tracing patterns in the dirt, human intuition guiding him. "Everything here is alive. Everything wants to see if you belong or if you're prey." The first test came faster than anyone expected. A massive serpentine shadow exploded from the ground, jaws wide, acidic spittle hissing in the air. The Jivara froze. The Bregg growled, readying a plasma stinger. Kael didn't move, he waited. The creature lunged. Kael rolled forward, twisting midair, striking with a handheld energy blade. Sparks flew. The alien cadets panicked, flailing against instinct. Kael landed beside them, breath steady, voice cutting through the chaos. "Stop, you can't react like prey here. You need choice, not reflex." The Jivara's limbs trembled. "Choice, but how can we?" "By seeing clearly," Kael said, locking eyes with each of them. "By noticing the details no one else does. Focus, or Deathworld eats you." The shadow recoiled, its eyes glinting intelligence, not mindless hunger. Kael's heart raced, but his exterior remained unshaken. He turned to the cadets. "Tomorrow we move deeper. You will see more than danger. You will see truth." The storm intensified. Lightning split the sky, painting the jagged terrain in harsh white. The Jivara hissed, stepping closer to Kael. "Why, do you stay calm?" Kael smiled faintly, almost a grimace. "Because fear is a tool, not a master. And out here everything will try to master you. Humans, we learn to turn fear into focus." A distant roar rolled over the mountains. Something massive was moving beneath the surface. Kael felt it in his bones. The aliens sensed it too, their pupils dilating, claws gripping uneven ground. Kael's eyes narrowed. "Tonight you sleep. If you can, tomorrow. We test if you're ready to see what Deathworlders call the real focus. And if you fail." He didn't finish. The wind carried a sound no human or alien voice could fully describe. A low, intelligent growl that promised consequences beyond instinct. The cadets shivered, and even Kael felt a flicker of unease. Above them, lightning carved strange runes in the sky, illuminating the alien plants like silent witnesses. The first lesson had begun, and none of them, human or alien, would ever be the same. The night on Zharon V was alive with sound and movement. Even under the storm's harsh glare, the cadets could feel the world breathing around them. Strange, jagged plants shifted subtly, as if they had eyes, as if they were counting their pulse. Kael sat cross-legged, quietly cleaning his blade while the aliens huddled in a makeshift shelter he had forced them to erect. "You think it's hunting us?" the Bregg whispered. The word hunting came out like smoke, ragged and scared. Kael's eyes scanned the horizon. It's not hunting yet. It's waiting. To survive here, you need patience more than speed. To survive here, you need focus. Not reaction, focus. The Jivara clicked, mandibles trembling. We fail? This place kills all who try. Kael's gaze hardened. Then you'll need to see differently. Humans. We survive because we notice what others overlook. Every sound, every shadow, every shift in the air matters. Focus is seeing what everyone else ignores. A sudden crack echoed from the ridge above them. Kael froze mid-motion. The aliens followed his eyes, and for a long moment nothing moved. Then a shadow flickered across the rocks, fast, deliberate, impossible. The Jivara shrieked, stepping back. It knows we are weak. The Bregg hissed. Kael exhaled slowly. It knows nothing. You are weak because you believe it does. Fear makes prey out of the clever. You will learn focus tonight, or it will be your last lesson. The storm intensified, rain stinging exposed skin. Lightning flashed, revealing the silhouette of something massive, moving just at the edge of vision. Its shape was fluid, constantly changing, but its intelligence radiated in each calculated movement. Kael's gut clenched. This was not a beast of instinct. It studied, tested, learned. Kael motioned for the aliens to follow. We move quietly, step by step. Watch everything, do not act yet. The cadets obeyed, trembling but silent. Every footfall was a risk. Every sound could betray them. As they moved through the jagged rocks, Kael whispered lessons under the storm's roar. Notice the air. See how the rain falls differently in the shadows? That tells you where it has passed. Listen to what does not make sound. Gaps in sound are as real as the noise itself. Move without creating echoes, without thinking of your limbs, only your path. The Jivara tilted their head. Path, not prey? Kael smiled faintly, a grim human humor. Exactly. In Deathworlder terms, prey reacts. Humans, we create the moment. Focus. Shape it. Survive. The cadets were beginning to understand, not fully, but the seed had taken root. Then a scream shattered the storm. Not from them. From behind a ridge, a sound like tearing metal mixed with a scream that was almost sentient. The Bregg hissed, claws scraping stone. It killed something. Kael did not flinch. It's testing you. Fear is the tool, focus is the shield. He gestured toward a narrow crevice between jagged rocks. Through here. Move carefully. Every step counts. The shadows thickened as they entered the passage. Kael's eyes caught faint glimmers, movement in shapes, angles, impossible patterns. He whispered, Look, not with your eyes only, sense with your mind. Predict. Anticipate. A massive shape lunged from above, clawed and shifting, barely visible in the lightning flare. The Jivara froze, but Kael reacted instantly, pulling both aliens down. The shadow passed over, missing them by mere inches. Kael's voice was sharp, cutting through their panic. Did you see it? Not with fear, see it. Where it moves, why it moves. That's the lesson. Not survival, it's understanding the world that wants you dead. The aliens shivered, trembling from adrenaline. The Bregg whispered, almost ashamed. We cannot. Kael's eyes softened briefly. That's the point. You think you cannot. Humans feel the same fear. But focus is doing what must be done even when every instinct screams no. That is what makes us dangerous. Lightning split the sky again, illuminating their faces. Alien and human, soaked and tense, united in terror and revelation. Kael's gaze swept the jagged peaks. He saw movement, many movements, too fast, too smart for ordinary creatures. He knew this night would change them forever. And he knew something deeper was watching, something that would not forgive mistakes. Kael's voice dropped, almost a whisper over the storm. Rest if you can. Tomorrow you'll learn that Deathworlders do not just challenge your body, they challenge your mind. And the mind is where humanity becomes unstoppable. The cadets huddled closer, shivering but alive. Outside, the storm raged, and somewhere in the darkness eyes glimmered with cruel intelligence waiting for the next lesson. Dawn came on Zharon V like a blade through clouds, sharp, violent, tinged with purple. The storm had passed, leaving a haze that made the jagged mountains look endless, like a labyrinth carved by a mad god. Kael Arden stood on a ridge surveying the terrain below. The cadets, Jivara and Bregg alike, emerged from the shelter, eyes wide, limbs stiff, still shaking from the night's lessons. Today, Kael said, voice low but firm, We test your mind. Survival here isn't just muscle and claws. It's perception, adaptation, focus. And right now your minds are your weakest weapons. The Bregg muttered, claws dragging through the black soil. I'd already fear everything. How is this stronger than last night? Kael's eyes hardened, because last night was only the surface. Now you'll face what Zharon V really wants to teach. Not fear, it teaches strategy. Not panic, it teaches focus. He gestured to a narrow valley veiled in mist. You walk through that valley. Nothing touches you. Yet, you will feel eyes. You will hear whispers in the rocks. Ignore them. Focus on what you need. Every distraction is death. The Jivara tilted its head, mandibles clacking nervously. Our minds, we are not like humans. Our thoughts, scatter. Kael stepped closer, resting a hand on one of their shimmering limbs. That's why you're here. Humans learn to control chaos, to shape thought into action. Fear and distraction will kill you. Focus will make you unstoppable. As they descended into the valley, the air grew thick, almost viscous, clinging to skin and scales alike. Shadows stretched unnaturally, twisting in ways that made the brain ache to understand. Every step felt heavier, as if the world itself was resisting them. Then the whispers began, soft, almost musical, shifting into voices that mimicked their own. You cannot survive. You're weak. Turn back. The Bregg froze. It knows what we think. Kael stopped and crouched. No, it doesn't know. It mirrors. It makes you question yourself. The moment you doubt, you lose. Focus. Breathe. Ignore the lies. The whispers twisted into images in the fog. Shapes of fallen cadets, mangled beyond recognition, appeared and disappeared in the periphery. The Jivara stumbled, staggering back. We cannot focus, Kael snapped. Do not see what it wants you to see. See what is, step by step. One thought at a time. You control the mind. Do not let it control you. Slowly, painfully, they advanced. Every step demanded effort against doubt, fear, and the constant assault on their senses. Kael noticed the subtle changes. The shadows moved slightly slower when the aliens concentrated. The whispers softened when they focused on the physical path instead of imagined threats. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time warped in the valley. Exhaustion clawed at their minds, but Kael pushed them. Your minds are sharper than this world expects. Humans survive because we make clarity from chaos. Focus, and the world bends to your awareness. The first true test emerged without warning. The ground beneath them trembled, forming jagged cracks that emitted strange glowing spores. Every cadet froze. If we fall, the Bregg started. Kael's hand slammed into the ground, sending a shockwave of authority. If you fall, you learn. Humans fall, and then we rise stronger. You move because you choose to. Step by step, the aliens crossed the unstable terrain, spores brushing against their limbs, making them dizzy. Every whisper became louder, more insistent, but Kael's calm presence held the line. Finally, they reached a high ridge. From here, the valley looked alive, almost sentient, twisting with fog, shadow, and movement. Kael turned to the cadets. You survived your first mental gauntlet. But this is only the beginning. Deathworlders do not test strength, they test perception, patience, will. The mind can be sharper than claws, stronger than fangs, and humans. We mastered that first. The Jivara shimmered faintly, mandibles clacking in a sound that might have been awe. The Bregg simply stared, breathless and shaken. We think differently now. Perhaps we understand more, Kael nodded. Good. That understanding is dangerous to your enemies, not you. But remember this, Zharon V will escalate. It does not forgive hesitation. And what waits beyond this valley is designed to break even the focused mind. A shadow flickered at the valley's edge, large, deliberate, intelligent. It did not move toward them, yet. But its presence alone sent a chill that no alien or human could deny. Kael's voice softened, almost a whisper. Rest now, but never forget. This world does not sleep. It observes, it learns, and tomorrow, the real test begins. Focus will be your only ally. Failure will not be the end of a lesson. It will be the end of you. The aliens looked at each other, shivering yet with something new, a flicker of determination. The human presence had shifted something inside them. Fear had not disappeared, but focus was seeping in, fragile but undeniable. And somewhere in the shadowed valley below, the watchers of Zharon V calculated every heartbeat, every hesitation. The next day they would strike where doubt lingered the most. The sun barely rose over Zharon V, a sickly amber disk behind clouds streaked with violet lightning. The jagged mountains below were jagged, black, and alive. Kael Arden stood at the edge of a rocky outcrop, his gaze sweeping the valley that had challenged their minds. Now he would push their bodies. Today, he said, voice sharp and steady, Deathworlders teach through action. You survived whispers, shadows, and fear. That was mind. Now we test your flesh, your claws, your limbs, your instincts. And yes, your mind will still be part of the fight. The alien stiffened. The Jivara's limbs trembled, shimmering faintly in fear. The Bregg hissed in clenched claws that could pierce steel. It cannot... It rasped. Kael's gaze hardened. Yes, you can, you must. Humans survive because we fight when the world wants to break us. We do not wait for safety. We do not rely on luck. We rely on focus, and we act. Focus turns fear into movement. They moved down into the valley, which had shifted overnight. The landscape was scarred now. Massive pits, broken spires, and jagged ridges. Something had passed through. Something alive. Kael stopped abruptly, scanning the terrain. Do not move unless I tell you. Watch, think. From the shadows, movement erupted. A massive predator surged from the rocks, a creature of sinew, shadow, and teeth like jagged crystal. Its eyes burned with intelligence, and its motion was too fast for instinct alone. The Jivara froze. The Bregg hissed. Kael remained still. Focus, watch its path. Predict, don't react, the predator lunged. Kael rolled forward, drawing his energy blade and cutting a shallow arc that drew its attention. Sparks hissed in the air. The alien cadets hesitated, unsure whether to fight or flee. You move when I move, Kael barked. Not from fear, from understanding. Step lightly, step smart. One action at a time, focus. Slowly, the Jivara mimicked Kael, moving with precision rather than panic. Its 6 limbs adjusted, dodging debris, feeling the predator's approach before it struck. The Bregg followed, claws slashing but controlled, eyes locked on Kael for guidance. The predator tested them again and again, circling, lunging, retreating. Kael's voice cut through each attack. Not faster. Smarter. Predict. Anticipate. Humans survive by seeing what others ignore. Hours, or maybe minutes, time distorted in the chaos, passed. The cadets began to move in ways that were almost human in rhythm, almost instinctual in focus. Kael watched, satisfaction hidden behind his stoic mask. Then the predator changed tactics. It vanished into the shadows, leaving the valley silent but tense. The alien stiffened, waiting. Kael's eyes narrowed. It's not gone. It's testing patience. Humans survive because we wait when needed. We strike when opportunity appears. Don't follow instinct blindly, shape it. A sudden roar split the silence. From above, several smaller predators descended, moving as one coordinated strike team. The cadets panicked, claws and limbs flailing, but Kael did not. Focus, he shouted. Divide your mind and unify your body. Jivara, flank left. Bregg, cover right. I draw the center. Together, one movement, one purpose. For the first time, the aliens moved in perfect sync, their individual fear replaced by a single shared awareness. They dodged, blocked, struck, and forced the predators into retreat. Breathless, trembling, the cadets finally collapsed to the jagged ground, but alive. Kael approached, wiping rain and grime from his face. You see what you did? You survived because you focused together, not because you were stronger or faster. You survived because you thought and you acted. That is human advantage. That is why we endure where others perish. The Jivara shimmered faintly, mandibles clicking in awe. We understand. Not completely. But you understand more than you think, Kael interrupted, voice low. The predators teach lessons humans have learned for millennia. The mind guides the body. Focus guides instinct, and together they make us unstoppable. As the sun dipped behind jagged peaks, shadows lengthened, twisting unnaturally. Kael scanned the horizon. Rest, eat if you can. Tomorrow the lessons will escalate further. Physical skill alone will not be enough. You will face challenges that force every part of your being, mind, body, and spirit, to work as one. And failing to unify them, he didn't finish. Somewhere in the distant ridges, movement shimmered, calculated, intelligent, and relentless. The cadets understood in ways they could not yet name that Zharon V had many more trials waiting. Kael turned back to the exhausted aliens. Human focus is not magic. It is discipline. It is clarity. and it will be the only thing between you and death on this world. The Jivara and Bregg nodded, exhausted but alive, a new understanding dawning, and for the first time, they glimpsed what made humans different: resilience, discipline, and the deadly simplicity of focus under fire. Night fell over Zharon V like an ink blot, swallowing the jagged peaks in darkness. The valley where Kael and the cadets had fought earlier seemed quiet, almost peaceful, but the silence was an illusion. Every shadow, every twitching plant, and every faint whisper of wind held potential death. Kael Arden crouched on a ridge, his eyes scanning the blackened terrain. The Jivara and the Bregg were tense beside him, shivering despite the exertion of the day. "Tonight," Kael said, voice low, "we learn human improvisation. Focus alone keeps you alive, but creativity is what lets you survive when everything else fails." The Bregg hissed, claws scraping against the jagged rock. "We thought focus was enough. What they more?" Kael's gaze was unyielding. "Focus is the foundation. But humans survive in Deathworlds because we adapt. We improvise. When the world refuses to follow rules, we invent new ones. Tonight you will learn that lesson the hard way." Suddenly, movement flickered at the edge of the ridge, too fast for the eye to track. The ground trembled under weight too large for any predator they had seen. Kael's lips tightened. "It's here." "Stay calm, watch, think, don't act. Yet." From the shadows, dozens of smaller predators surged in coordinated strikes, but behind them, something larger, almost unimaginable, stalked silently. Its massive silhouette shifted, blending with the rocks, and its eyes glinted with intelligence that made the hairs on Kael's neck rise. The cadets panicked, instinct screaming at them to flee. Kael's voice cut through their fear. "Focus. Fear is the tool. Improvisation is the weapon. You will survive if you see opportunity, not just threat." The first wave of predators lunged. The Jivara froze, claws raised, unsure. Kael grabbed a jagged rock, shoving it into the Jivara's grasp. "Use everything. Your environment is part of you. Your body is part of your mind. React, but invent." Humans survive by turning the world into a weapon. Step by step, the cadets adapted. The Jivara slashed at an attacking predator, then kicked a rock that toppled another into its companion. The Bregg used its strength to swing a fallen branch like a staff, knocking predators into jagged pits. Kael's eyes glimmered with approval. They were learning not by instinct alone, but by choice. The larger predator loomed, silent, calculating, waiting for hesitation. Kael whispered to the cadets, barely audible over the chaos, "Do not let it dictate the fight. Use it, predict its moves, force it into your terms. Humans survive because we shape danger, not flee from it." The predator lunged faster than any reaction could match. Kael dove forward, planting explosives scavenged from the shuttle wreckage. He yelled, "Now!" The cadets followed, striking together in perfect timing. A massive explosion threw predators aside, blinding and scattering them. The valley fell silent again, smoke curling into the sky. The cadets, panting and trembling, looked at each other in disbelief. Kael approached, wiping sweat and grime from his brow. "You see? That's human improvisation. We survive because we create the edge, even when the edge seems impossible. Focus kept you alive today, but innovation made you conquer it." The Jivara's limbs trembled. We can adapt, not as fast. But Kael placed a hand on their shimmering shoulder. "You can because you chose to. That is the difference. Fear teaches caution. Focus teaches control. Creativity teaches victory." Above them, shadows flickered again. The massive predator had retreated, but its intelligence was unmistakable. It had learned from the fight, recalculating, waiting for the next opportunity. Kael's eyes narrowed. "Rest now. You survived the crucible, but the real test will not come from predictable predators. It will come from the world itself, from everything here that wants to see you fail. And tomorrow it will be waiting." The Bregg hissed softly, almost reverent. "Humans, they see possibilities, not just threats." Kael nodded slowly. "Exactly. That is why we endure where others perish. That is why humans survive Deathworlders, because focus gives us clarity, fear gives us speed, and imagination gives us an edge no predator expects." The cadets huddled together, still trembling, but the flicker of understanding had taken root. For the first time, they grasped the human principle that would guide them through the remaining trials. Observe, focus, adapt, and act with purpose. And somewhere, deep in the shadows of Zharon V, the massive predator watched, patient and intelligent, knowing this was only the beginning of their true test. The morning on Zharon V arrived not with light, but with an oppressive gray haze that turned the jagged mountains into looming shadows. Kael Arden stood at the edge of a cliff, the wind biting at his exposed skin, his eyes scanning the valley below. The Jivara and the Bregg followed, limping slightly, bodies exhausted but minds sharper than ever. "Today," Kael said, voice low but commanding, "you will face your limits, not of strength, not of speed, not even of focus, but of will. The Deathworld tests everything that defines life. And humans, we survive where others break because our spirit refuses to yield." The Jivara's limbs shimmered nervously. "We'll be broken." "How?" Kael's gaze swept the valley. "By choice. By necessity, by fear. The mind can see the path, the body can follow it, but the will must decide to survive or not. Humans survive because we choose to endure when all else screams to give up." Below them, the valley seemed to breathe. Plants twisted unnaturally, the air thick with an almost tangible malevolence. Shadows flickered, forming shapes that mimicked cadets who had fallen in the prior days, some screaming, some paralyzed with fear. The Bregg hissed, claws digging into rock. It knows our thoughts." Kael knelt beside them. "No, it does not know. It reflects your doubts, your fears. You survive not by ignoring fear, but by mastering it. Focus gives clarity. Will gives strength. Without both, you die." Suddenly, a massive fissure split the valley floor, revealing glowing spires of crystal that hummed with alien energy. From the fissure, creatures emerged. Not predators this time, but the environment itself, alive and hostile. "The cadets froze. Move!" Kael shouted. Not by reaction. "By choice." The Jivara stumbled, then recovered, following Kael's lead. The Bregg's tail lashed in panic, but Kael's voice cut through it. "Breathe, step, focus. Every movement has meaning. Every hesitation costs you life." As they crossed the unstable terrain, illusions assaulted them. Shadows of comrades appeared to fall into pits. Whispers urged them to turn back. The Jivara's 6 limbs trembled. "We cannot—" Kael stopped abruptly. "You can. Humans endure the impossible because we decide to. You survive because you will to. Focus is useless without will. Focus guides. Will drives." A fissure opened beneath the Bregg. Without thinking, Kael grabbed its claw and pulled it up, anchoring it. Not instinct, decision. Focus plus will. The Bregg's eyes widened, comprehension dawning. "We survived. Because you guided us?" Kael shook his head. "Because you chose to follow. Humans do not lead by force alone. We teach, inspire, and create focus in chaos. That is why we survive worlds that would kill every other species." As they neared the far edge of the valley, a massive shadow moved overhead. A predator unlike any before, wings dark as void, eyes calculating. The cadets froze, paralyzed with terror. Kael stepped forward. "Watch, understand, do not flee. Humans survive by acting with clarity. Even when the odds are impossible. You can do the same. You will act not from fear but from choice." The predator dove, faster than anything the cadets had faced. Kael shouted commands, but his movements were precise, practiced. He dodged, baited, and redirected the predator into a narrow canyon. The cadets, following his lead, mimicked his focus, their motions growing instinctive yet conscious. The predator screeched and retreated, wounded and confused. The Jivara and Bregg collapsed to the ground, trembling but alive. For the first time, exhaustion was not fear, it was relief, understanding, and awe. Kael approached, voice low but resonant. "You see? Survival is more than strength, more than instinct. It is focus, will, and understanding. Humans endure death worlds because we decide to. We create clarity in chaos. We rise when others would fall. You have learned more than you realize today." The cadets looked at him, eyes wide with comprehension. The fear had not vanished, but it had transformed. It was no longer paralysis. It was fuel. Fear had become focus. Chaos had become opportunity. Doubt had become choice. Kael turned his gaze toward the horizon. "Tomorrow is the final trial. Everything you've learned, focus, adaptation, will be tested together. If you survive, you will leave Zharon V changed forever. If you fail, this world will erase you without a second thought." And somewhere in the distant ridges, unseen but intelligent, the massive predator watched, calculating its next move. But Kael's presence had changed something fundamental. The aliens were no longer prey. They were learners of human resilience, and humanity's most dangerous trait, the refusal to yield, was now theirs to witness firsthand. Zharon V's skies bled violet and gold as the last trial began. Kael Arden stood at the edge of a jagged plateau, the Jivara and Bregg behind him, every muscle taut, minds sharpened, hearts racing. This was no longer a test of mind or body alone. It was a test of everything they had learned: focus, improvisation, and unyielding will. Below them, the valley twisted unnaturally. Crystal spires pulsed with alien energy. Shadows moved with sinister intelligence, and the air vibrated with a deep, resonant hum that seemed to echo inside their bones. Kael turned to the cadets. "Today," he said, voice steady and commanding, "you face Zharon V at its worst. Its predators, its illusions, its environment all at once. You survive because you remember everything. Focus gives clarity, will gives strength, fear gives speed, and you act, not because you must, but because you choose to." The Bregg hissed, tail coiling nervously. "We survive, or die." Kael's gaze met theirs. "We survive. Humans survive because we make survival a choice, not a chance." The ground trembled beneath them. From the shadows, a massive predator emerged, bigger than any they had faced, its wings casting darkness over the valley. Eyes like molten gold glimmered with calculated intelligence. It did not charge immediately. It waited, observing, learning like every Deathworlder before it. Kael signaled the cadets. "Move as one, observe, anticipate, act together." The predator lunged. Chaos erupted. Rocks shattered. Crystal spires hummed and sparked. The Jivara froze for a split second, but Kael's hand clamped onto one limb, guiding it. "Focus, do not react blindly." The Bregg swung a massive branch, knocking a smaller predator off balance. Kael darted forward, baiting the larger one into a narrow canyon where the environment itself became an ally. The predator roared, frustration rippling through its massive frame. The aliens, guided by Kael's calm presence and lessons of improvisation, moved with precision. Jivara leaped, slashing with 6 limbs in a rhythmic dance of survival. Bregg blocked, struck, and pivoted, adapting on the fly. Every action was deliberate, every movement a calculated choice. Kael's mind remained clear, every heartbeat measured. He saw the predator's patterns, its intelligence, and exploited the valley itself. Rocks, crystals, and wind became weapons. The cadets mirrored him, their fear transformed into deadly clarity. Then the predator lunged for the final strike. Kael shouted, "Now!" The cadets acted in unison. Jivara's limbs struck the predator's flanks. Bregg's tail swept debris into its path, and Kael drove a jagged crystal into the beast's side. The predator screamed, staggering, then retreated into the shadows, vanishing as suddenly as it appeared. The valley fell silent. The Jivara and Bregg collapsed to the ground, trembling, exhausted but alive. Kael approached, voice calm, almost gentle. "You see?" he said. "Focus alone saved you. Will alone kept you moving. And together, with clarity and choice, you turned fear into victory. That is human strength. Not muscle, not instinct, but spirit." The Jivara shimmered, mandibles clacking softly. "We understand now. Humans survive." "Everything?" Kael smiled faintly, a rare human warmth breaking through his stoicism. "We survive because we choose to. We survive because we turn fear into focus, chaos into action, and weakness into strength. And now you've seen what that means. Not just in theory, but in practice." The Bregg's eyes gleamed, a mix of awe and newfound determination. "We will remember. We'll survive. Like humans." Kael looked out over the valley. The predator was gone, but the lessons remained etched into every jagged rock, every shadowed crevice. Zharon V had been relentless, merciless, and alive, but human ingenuity, human focus had prevailed. "Remember this," Kael said softly. "Every Deathworld will test you. Every galaxy has predators, dangers, and challenges. But humans endure because our greatest weapon is not our claws, our teeth, or our bodies. It is our mind and our will. You've learned something priceless here. Hold on to it." For the first time, the aliens felt it. Not just survival, but inspiration. Fear had been a teacher. Chaos had been a teacher. And now, human resilience, the unyielding spirit that survived the impossible, was theirs to witness firsthand. Kael turned, leading them back toward the shuttle. Behind them, Zharon V loomed, jagged, alive, and untamed. But they walked with purpose, no longer prey. They walked as students of humanity, carriers of its spirit, and witnesses to what made humans different: the courage to focus, the clarity to act, and the will to endure when all else fails. As the sun set, casting long violet shadows across the jagged peaks, one thought echoed through the minds of every cadet. Humanity is not just strong. Humanity survives, and sometimes that is enough to conquer worlds.